I'm Lebanese, born and raised in New York, and my whole life has kind of been between the US, Europe, and the Middle East. I would grow up spending the summers back in Lebanon when the war wasn't too strong, and I also grew up in a multilingual environment with French and English dominating, and Arabic took the back seat. So I've always been attracted to the Middle East and very aware of what conflict means because my parents actually lived through the Lebanese Civil War, and we decided to stay in the city in New York in the US due to what was going on back home. So I've had a hypersensitivity to issues related to conflict, but also to language and culture and intercultural exchange. And so I came up with the idea for Natakallem when I was actually looking for Arabic classes myself. I had graduated from my master's, and this was after spending several years working in the Middle East and in Beirut as a journalist. And I was looking for Arabic, and I was also very much aware of the need for people with my background, so people who want to do journalism or humanitarian work, their need to find ways to practice Arabic, and specifically conversational Arabic. Because we don't always realize, but Arabic is very particular compared to other languages because you have modern standard Arabic, which is what is traditionally taught in classroom settings, for example, in the US, and then you have the dialects. So if you study only modern standard Arabic in the US and you travel to Beirut or to Cairo or Amman or Morocco, you're actually not going to be easily able to communicate with the people and to talk on on a daily basis, daily exchange. So there was a need, I realized, for people to practice conversational Arabic and to practice it with native speakers. So when I was back in New York and I was looking for Arabic conversation opportunities myself, this was also when the refugee crisis was really, really escalating. And so Lebanon, in addition to itself being a country that's been through civil war, hosts the highest density of refugees worldwide. So 1 out of 4 people today is a Syrian. And so that means that we have about 1.5 million Syrian refugees, displaced Syrians living in Lebanon, and they're not given work permits. And of course, there's a reason why they're not given work permits. The neighboring countries to Syria have their challenges and their concerns. But at the same time, what do you do when you've left your homeland that's been completely demolished? You're in a new country and you have no way to actually legitimately make an income. And so what I was thinking about is people who are exactly like me, who had just completed their studies or were on their way to launching their careers, and all of a sudden their lives are completely upside down. They're watching their country go through one of the most devastating civil conflicts we've seen, and they are now in Lebanon, and they're completely in limbo. They can't legally make an income. They have no idea if they'll be able to get resettled because actually, a tiny fraction of displaced people today are getting officially resettled. So, I thought to myself, Damascus actually used to be the hub for Arabic learning before the Arab uprisings. And I had always dreamed of going to Damascus to spend a month to immerse myself and speak Arabic. And so, I just told myself if I were in Lebanon right now, I'd combine these two issues. Displaced people who don't have access to work opportunities and people who want ways to practice conversational Arabic. And what if they became language partners? And so people like myself who are on a tight budget, who want to practice conversational Arabic, we actually can connect with Syrians, displaced Syrians, and they can be our language partners, and we'd compensate them for that. But it's not an official employment, but it's still a rewarding income opportunity. Because also the dynamic when you have one-on-one, when you have a teaching exchange, it's really exciting. And so I also was thinking of the human interaction. So that's kind of how the idea for Natakallem came to life. And one thing led to the next. I decided to pitch the idea at a competition, and we did a pilot, and our pilot kind of took off organically through social media shares.
Cool. What is a typical work day for you like?
A work day for me is we have a team that's kind of all over the world, so we have no limits in work hours, and because a lot of what we do is digital. We don't have any physical barriers either. And the work is really exciting, and I have an amazing team of passionate coworkers and lots of volunteers and young interns who have come on board to join the mission, but also an amazing team of conversation partners who are based in Lebanon, in Iraq, in Europe, in Brazil. So a typical workday for me in the position I am today involves everything. Involves talking to the staff, involves working with the refugees and the displaced people, talking to potential partners, answering customer questions, figuring out what's going on in the world today with regards to refugee issues, to the Middle East, to politicians in our country. So it is a holistic approach. We are a social enterprise managed and led by people whose passion is the humanitarian and the human rights sector and cultural exchange. So, a daily routine is, very lively with work over WhatsApp and work over Skype and work in person with, who I have here. And it is also, it can be anywhere. I travel a lot. So I'm, sometimes in Paris, sometimes in Beirut, etc. So I don't know if that's a good answer.
That's great. And what are the challenges that you're facing with Natakalam, and you can even talk about how getting displaced, like what's the hiring process like, if you have any challenges doing that?
Yeah.
And just in terms of difficulties that are being faced.
Mm-hmm. So it's launching a startup, starting from scratch, is challenging in and of itself. People talk about startups, people tell you founders are always at risk of burnout, etc. And then the issue is that it's not just a startup, it's kind of a humanitarian and development oriented startup. So we are, like kind of what you see in the NGO sector, like the emotional burnout, because you care so much about the cause. So you're combining kind of the startup syndrome with the humanitarian syndrome. So, I would say that our biggest challenge in our team is making sure we're balancing our work and life routine, right? Because we are so excited about Natakalam, we care so much about the mission, we see the impact, we see it right there because we talk to the language partners we onboarded. So one of the challenges is probably for our team to kind of make sure we also take some disconnect time. It's also challenging and exciting to have a team that's global. We have a base here in New York and a base in Paris and kind of a few people out of the Middle East. So learning how to manage remote work from the kind of organizational perspective is also an interesting challenge. And of course, it's hard to feel that we can't cater to all the needs of the displaced people that are writing to us. So, we have every day people writing to us saying they know refugees who need work, or refugees themselves writing to us. So, it's hard for us to not be able to onboard them because we're trying to focus more on getting the word out so that people can sign up. We go to universities, we tell professors, your students need to practice the Arabic they're learning in the classroom. Why not have them use Natakalam? Because it's a win-win, right? The students practice, they're getting giving access to livelihoods to displaced people. There's an intercultural exchange going on. It's we're using technology for good in this case. So that challenge of kind of looking at both sides and seeing, okay, we need to now go and enroll more people so that we can support more more displaced people. So that's a challenge, and of course dealing with all the different labor issues in the different countries where we work, understanding what refugee versus asylum seeker versus displaced person without a work permit, really navigating all these different aspects as well.
So you don't really need a work permit to work for Natakalam if you're a displaced person?
So it will depend on the countries, but in most places where we work, because they're working through the digital economy for an American-based company, and they're kind of freelancers, right? So we see the world now in our part of the U.S. and in Europe. We're all excited about being digital nomads, working from wherever. But who is better placed than refugees and forcibly displaced persons to benefit from this? And so that's kind of what Natakalam does.
Cool. And how do you select refugees to come Do you have a
So-
test? Do they have to clear like some language proficiency criteria?
So we recruit our conversation partners through our networks on the ground, through NGO partners, through personal contacts, given that we are already very much in this space, the Middle East and the humanitarian human rights NGO sector. So we don't want to perpetrate the idea that refugees are this kind of an alternate person or this alternate group. I mean, refugees are normal people who've been in extraordinary circumstances. So they apply like a normal person would apply. So they go, they provide their CV, we collect their documents, we cross-check with references, and then they go through a interview process, and then we have an internal consultation to decide like who we're onboarding, and then there's a basic training. So it's you don't need to be a formal teacher, but we look at that as well, and the interpersonal skills are very important because you're a language partner. You're not necessarily a teacher, but while we do have some of the refugees on our platform who are teaching the language, and we have a curriculum option, but conversation is at the core of what Netakalam does and stands for. But this is how kind of the recruitment process goes.
Where do you see Netakalam in the next 5 years?
Well, one of the areas we really want to revolutionize, quote unquote, is the academic space and language learning and the language industry in general. With the digital economy today, language and language skills can be utilized from anywhere. So, refugees' native language skills are kind of what we are leveraging here. So we'd love to see more schools and universities, K through 12, across the spectrum, think of how they can support displaced people by providing, their own students with practice of a language with a displaced person. Like, this is the idea we have. So of course, we would envision this beyond Arabic and into other languages. There are more than 65 million displaced people in the world. They all speak different languages. So, Arabic is what we've started with. The long-term goal is to, add on other languages. And so, we're also developing translation services delivered by displaced people and refugees as well. So, really kind of looking at the entire language industry and seeing where we can actually do remote work opportunities for displaced people.
Is there anything in specific that you'd like to add? So I'm going to change the setting now and then make you show the word at the table from a different angle. But for the main interview, is there anything that you would want to add or to say?
Well, I would just say that, we are living in an era where the term refugee has been hijacked, and people think refugee, and unfortunately influenced by many of our political leaders, think something very negative and wrong. And beyond the income component for displaced people, beyond the language component, we really see this as changing the narrative, as bridging cultures, creating intimate settings for understanding, but that are, even though people are in different parts of the world. And that's something we really strongly feel is part of our mission and our goal. And it's really timely. So.
Thank you.
So these are just kind of part of what we do. So in addition to what I mentioned earlier, we also feel that Arabic today is being associated with the wrong things, unfortunately, due to different issues going on around the world. So part of our mission is also to change the narrative around change the narrative around Arabic and try and make people realize Arabic is just a language, and we don't want it to be associated with violence or extremism as it can sometimes be. So these are just little postcards that represent our Wednesday word of the day. So we just create these kind of fun visuals to help people learn and remember important words. So community and ahlan wa sahlan, which is welcome. Empathy, which is one of the major aspects we work around. Here is education and teaching. So community. So yes.
Yeah, I'll just take
معلي كل شيء آخر دقيقة فبنفهم إنه ما فيك تعمل كله، بس بركي إذا بتبلش الدرس ما بعرف إذا فيك تعمل فلوم صغير على التليفون. Cause yeah,
Sorry, I know you have introduced.
Yeah, so Sabri is our newest team member. So she's our Beirut rep.
Okay.
Because the flights are super long.
Yeah, summer routine. We launched the specific QFI one.
Yeah.
But again, ask for a draft of whatever we wanted to put forward. But obviously, I wanted to check in with you that you were happy with the draft, and then I can say this is our draft. Can you put in your quotes?
Yeah.
You see what?
And because we're thinking of doing the event in December, right? So Reza and I are actually thinking of coming to London. Connection. قطع الخط شوي بس هلا we can hear you. Yeah. Okay, Lydia, you want to talk? Or this is day-to-day challenges of نتكلم. Oh, you can't hear me. That's weird. غريب. Okay, I'm gonna refresh.
Wait, now I can.
Okay, so
I didn't hear the last bit.
بس إذا بدك تحكي بالعربي شوي بالنسبة للموضوع للصحفية كمان.
Hi, what's your name?
Hi, my name is Eva Rasho.
Eva, can you tell a bit about yourself? You're from Syria and how you came to Lebanon?
Yes, I'm from Syria. I'm 25 years old. I went to Lebanon from about 1.5 years because the situation in Syria is very hard to live. There is the basic required thing for life in Syria, and my work, like dental technician, become worse and worse. And my husband, they need him to serve in the Syrian army, and he don't want to kill anybody. For that, we didn't have any choice without Lebanon. So it was we just have to move to Lebanon. We don't have any another choice.
Yeah. So when you came to Lebanon, how were you introduced to Natakallam?
Yes, I was pregnant and I can't work in the laboratory for a dental technical because there's many toxic fumes for it. It's bad for the pregnant woman, and it's very hard to find a job in Lebanon, especially for Syrian people. So I was teaching some people from Europe here, and they want to learn Arabic. And one of the journalists, she told me about Natakallam, and she gave me their website and their emails, and I sent for them my CV. And after many interviews, I became one of Natakallam conversation partners.
That's amazing. So how has your experience been at Natakallam? How many students do you teach, and how has that changed your life?
It's very it's amazing job because I can go through my motherhood, and I can have a job inside my home, and it's very good. And it's amazing to have students from the most important universities in Europe and in America, and maybe it's very good because they changed the typical lookout for the Syrian refugees. Most of people around the world think they are already educated or they can't speak many languages or like this. So it's amazing to see that the Syrian people are educated and they went to the university and can have communicating with all people all around the world.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, with
Yes.
your experience, how long have you been working for Natakalam?
My experience let me to get more experience about the other culture, like it's changing the culture. Many of Syrian people think that the Western people, they are very serious and they did or like don't want to learn Arabic, and I see there is a lot of people want to learn Arabic, and it's like a social opinion for between the East and the West. They know more about us, like Arabic people or like refugee, and we know a lot of their society and how they live.
Yeah.
And personality, I was a shy person, and now I'm less shy to dealing with people, and I can manage the conversation and be the promoter to have to promoter in any conversation between the people, not
Yeah.
just in Natakallam.
No, that's great. So what were you
Yes.
doing before when you were in Syria?
In Syria, I was a dental technical, and I was working in laboratory for 3 years, and but now I can't work like a dental technical. Even if I can get a job here in Lebanon, I can't because I have a small baby. He is 4.5 months.
Yeah.
It's so young.
How young is your baby?
4.5 months.
4.5 months, mashallah. Okay, that's wonderful.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
Is there anything else that you want to add to the interview? Anything, any message, anything about Natakalam that you've learned, or how you want to change something?
My work or my job in Natakalam, it add more for my experience, a lot of things to my experience, and wherever I were in meeting or gathering with other people, I very proud because I'm a mother and a refugee, and I have already job that is a serious job and very important job, and I know people from all around the world, and I have a big hope to this project Natakallam to become bigger and bigger, because when I tell anybody about my job and about Natakallam, they say, oh, that's a great thing, and everyone wants to learn Arabic, and this method is just amazing for everyone.
That's great. Thank you so
Yes.
much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I'll just turn the camera on so you can see me. Can you see me now?
Okay.
Sorry.
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Now? What?
Not yet.
You should be able to see me now.
Yes, now yes.
Okay. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. I will
You are
share
welcome.
I will share the interview when it's done. I'll share the video with you. I'll share the video with Aline. Thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful
You
rest
are
of your
welcome.
day.
And if you faced any problem with the video,
Yeah.
we can repeat this
Okay.
this interview.
Okay, I
if
will
you
have
want.
to check with like the reel and everything, because I'm shooting on a professional camera. The internet was getting a little stuck, so if I want to ask you something again, we might do a little small thing again, if it's okay. Not more than 10 minutes.
Yes.
If that's okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay, that's great.
Thanks
You are
a lot.
welcome. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.